Hi guys, James at Rampant Lion Reviews again for you today with another beer review. For this one we have a kind of special review. This is going to be review number 1500, and you know, we're halfway there to 2000, or 3/4 the way I guess technically. So as I always do with these milestone reviews, I just want to give a huge thank you to you guys, the viewers and subscribers of the channel. There's about 2000 subscribers for the channel now, which I think, you know, it's crazy that. I think it's quite funny that there's 2,000 people out there who like to watch a crazy Scotsman doing beer reviews, but it really is very humbling. You know, I enjoy this, it's a hobby for me. One of the great things is actually meeting you guys. If you see me out at a beer festival or drinking in a bar, do come up and say hello. It's always great to hear from you guys and to meet you in person. And over the last 5 years, it really has been a very, very cool journey. I've met up with some of you, and met up with some of you in Australia, in Munich as well. I've met up with some people, and I've bumped into a few people at Brewskival as well. So do come up and say hello. It's always great to bump into you guys. And the whole point of me starting up this channel years ago was because I wanted to learn about beers and to kind of archive all the different beers that I've reviewed. So the last 5 years have been really fun. As I've always said, I'll never stop doing the channel. It might speed up and slow down at certain points, but I'll never ever stop doing it because, you know, it's a great hobby to have. And you know, you really, it's the kind of foodie element to it as well. I really love all these different tastes of beers, and beer is always evolving, so there's always new stuff to learn. There's new hops to learn about, there's new malts and things like that to learn about, and you know, you've got some great taste in there as well, which is what you always want. A special shout out in this review as well to my friend Craig over at Kent Beer Reviews. He's about to do his 1000th beer review. Craig started up maybe about a year or so after me, and he's become a really, really good friend over the last while that I've been doing the beer reviews. So a special shout out to him for his 1000th beer review, and also shout out to my other beer tubing pals as well. You know, there's Peter over at the Clueless Drinker, there's Harry at Blue Nose Beer Reviews, there's Stuggy Pickard, the Ginger Ale Trail, Rob at Hop Scene, there's Beardy Brett as well that's doing his reviews, and you know, there's guys all over the place. There's the 3 guys in the Netherlands that I've just started talking to. They're doing some interesting reviews. There's you know, there's Wolfgang over in Austria as well, and then there's the Americans and the Australians and stuff like that. It really is cool to see that beer tubing is kind of picking up as a hobby as well, so a shout out to all the other beer tubers out there. But for this 1500th review then, I've picked a beer that I've really wanted to try for quite a wee while, but you know, there's always other things that have come ahead of it, because you can get this one fairly regularly these days. So for this one, we're going to head over to America once again. We're going to go back to San Diego, but we're trying my first ever beer from Alesmith. So this one is the Speedway Stout. It comes in at 12% ABV, and it's an imperial stout with coffee, and it should be an absolute beast. You know, this is a beer that is very, very highly regarded. It's one I'm a bit disappointed in myself for not having tried it sooner, but you know, it's, as I say, it's one that you do see fairly regularly over here. Usually you're seeing this one in the big is it boomer bottles they call them, you know, the big 750s that you get over in America, or roughly around that measurement. Normally this one's going to be in the big bottles, but in Europe we've started getting this one in cans. But it should be a really, really nice beer, and as always, I hope you guys enjoy my take on this one. I think this is one that my friend Fabrizio from Brazil actually had recommended that I try at one point, and that's one of the other cool things. There's subscribers from all over the world, so it's great to bump into you guys as well when we're doing the reviews. But anyway, as is usual with my reviews then, I'll tell you a little bit about the brewery. If you want to get straight to the tasting, just fast forward. All the usual links are in the description below. That's the brewery website, the link to my other reviews that I'll do from Alesmith in the future. I'm sure I will, because their beers are fairly readily available. There's all the usual social media. If you want to see more beer reviews, do please consider subscribing to the channel. The whole channel, of course, has a geography based tagging system, so you can go into the homepage and search for beer based on country, city, state, county, prefecture, whatever it is you're interested in. Do check out the playlist of beers from different countries. There is one there for all the American beers that I've reviewed for you. That's constantly being added to, and as always, please do get in touch and let me know some of the other beers and breweries that you guys would like to see me review. It's always great to hear from you guys that are watching the videos, and the support that you show the channel is hugely appreciated. So anyway, to tell you a little bit about Alesmith then. So as I told you before, and on to my brewery notes, Alesmith are based in San Diego in California, and the company was founded back in 1995 by Skip Virilio and Ted Newcomb. But the first brewery they had was in Cabot Drive in the Miramar area, which is a little bit out to the east of the city, and it was equipped with a small 15 BBL system, and they also had an in-house tap room there as well. And this facility has actually since been taken over by Mikkeller, who are brewing their stuff out there under the name Mikkeller San Diego. But the company was then bought by Peter Zien in 2002, who's a certified Grandmaster Level 1 beer judge, and he became the brewmaster. So he was a very well respected and well known home brewer in San Diego. He was president of a few different home brewing clubs from what I understand, and he previously managed his family home repair business that he inherited from his father. But at the time Zian purchased Alesmith, they were only producing around 400 barrels of beer per year, but the brewery have continually expanded over the last few years, and by 2012 they were producing 15,000 BBLs per year. And in 2015 they moved to a 100,000 square foot facility a few blocks to the west. I think it's only 2 blocks to the west actually, which has an 80 BBL brew system and apparently has one of the largest beer tasting rooms in California as well. And they're probably one of the most recognisable American craft breweries these days. This is my first review from them, but you know, founders, Alesmith, who else have you got? You know, you've got Sierra Nevada and the Anchor Brewery as well. You know, those are the big Californian ones. Lagunitas, of course, are a fairly big brewery, although they're owned by one of the big boys now. And Ballast Point, you know, those are probably the big 5 or something like that. There's a lot of Californian breweries, of course, but for us over in Europe, Alesmith are one of the more recognisable names, if you like. So it's been cool. It's cool actually to get a hold of this beer and to be able to do it for one of the you know, the landmark beer reviews, if you like. But yeah, that's all you really need to know about Alesmith just now. If you want to read a little bit more, check out the brewery website. You can follow them on Facebook. The pictures of their tap room and their brewery look very, very impressive, so I do recommend that you have a look at all those links in the description below. But let's get on to the actual tasting of this beer itself. So on the back here it tells you a little bit about the Speedway Stout. It says Speedway Stout's ominous pitch black appearance has become a hallmark of a modern day classic. Chocolate and roasted malts dominate the flavour, supported by notes of dark fruit, toffee and caramel. A healthy dose of locally roasted coffee added to each batch brings out the beer's dark chocolate flavours and enhances its drinkability. Despite its intensity, Speedway Stout's fine carbonation and creamy mouthfeel make it very smooth and surprisingly easy to drink. This beer ages very well and will continue to mature for many years to come. This beer's great balance makes it a very food-friendly imperial stout. Pair its roasty flavours and robust mouthfeel with rich beef dishes and char-grilled foods. Both chocolate and vanilla desserts also pair well, as do salty blue cheeses like Stilton or hard nutty cheeses like aged Gouda and cloth-bound cheddar. So that's quite cool. They're quite into their food pairings and stuff like that. But yeah, really nicely presented beer, this one. We can get rid of the computer screen now and you can have a little look at the artwork on this. So yeah, as I say, usually this one, they have these in the big sort of 750ml bottles. The name of those has gone from my head completely. But yeah, usually in America I think most of this beer is mainly sold in the big bottles rather than in the cans. I think the cans mainly are for export, but correct me on that if I'm wrong. But yeah, nicely presented beer, this one. You know, the Speedway Stout, I think it's, I don't know if it's named after the NASCARs or whatever. It didn't actually say on the website what it was named after, it just told you a little bit about it itself. But I do like the checkers and things like that. There you can see, there's the Alesmith symbol on the top there, and the writing of course is quite well known as well. There you can see the other thing on the back. This was the little bit that I read to you, but it says, yeah, ages beautifully between and serve it between 50 to 55 degrees Fahrenheit. To be quite frank, I have no idea what Fahrenheit is, to be quite honest with you. I guess that's maybe around 8 or 9 degrees, and I've had this one out the fridge for about, you know, 20-25 minutes, so it should hopefully be up around the kind of 8 or 9 degree mark, so it's not too far off where it should be. I'm guessing that 50 to 55 degrees is somewhere around, you know, 10 Celsius, something like that, because normally that's what you should serve a stout at. So it will have a little bit of a chill to it, but it should be okay. As I said, this one's a 12% Imperial Stout with coffee added to it. So without further ado, let's get the beer out and we'll get on with the tasting then. Really looking forward to this. Incidentally, I bought this beer at Kiosk in Copenhagen, and yeah, they've always got a really good selection of American beers. But look at that. Look at the big oily notes coming off of that one. Someone's driving around outside. Yeah. So this is definitely a good beer to film on a Friday when you've had a hard week, to be honest. But yeah, as you can see with this one, and it's poured exactly as you'd expect. You get some lovely fruity esters out of this, by the way, as you pour it. And there's also some of the brown sugars coming out there. It almost smells a little bit medicinal as you open up. But then, as we know, for Scottish people like me, beer is most definitely medicinal, especially when it's over 10%. But yeah, as you can see, this one's poured a nice, dark, kind of ebony rosewood colour. If I hold it up to the light, It's got a little bit of a kind of Coca-Cola coloured edge to it. There is a little bit of a ruby quality to it as well, but there's a solid finger of a frothy white head to this, or frothy tan head I should say. It's not white at all actually, but yeah, a nice frothy tan head to this one. It's quite a dark tan actually that's with this beer, but it looks pretty much as you would expect from the Imperial Stout style, and from the kind of lacing on the glass you can tell this is a big boozy beast, and at 12%, you know, it will give you a very nice buzz to your day, I'm sure. But yeah, let's take a closer look at the aroma then and just see how we get on with this one. Oh, that smells beautiful. Yeah, so with this one, it's it's a lot sweeter actually than I was thinking it would be in the aroma. You know, I've had a lot of good coffee stouts recently. You've seen me review in the last couple of videos, like the likes of the Key from Dugas Brewery. They do some really good coffee stouts, and that's a style that I want to get a bit more into actually. I've never been a big coffee drinker, but I found coffee stouts are something that I've really enjoyed. But yeah, lovely big chocolatey notes to this one. It's so boozy as well. Lovely big chocolate, like I was saying. There's a mixture of the high cocoa, the darker chocolate, and also some of the milkier chocolate in there as well. It's got a lovely blend of that in there. There's definitely a bit of a brown sugary note to this one. There's a little bit of treacle, molasses type thing in there, as the Americans would call it, but there's definitely a little bit of that darker, more syrupy brown sugar, but at the same time it's got a nice sweetness to it. There's a little bit of a kind of caramelly note coming out of this one, which is kind of sweet, and I do like that, but you can definitely smell a little bit of the roasted black malt, but you've also got some of that smoothness from the coffee. And the coffee to me has almost got a little bit of an aromaticity to it, if that makes sense. I noticed it was the Dugas Brewery in Sweden. They've been doing lots of different coffee stouts and using different beans from different places, and to me that's kind of taught me a little bit that you can get really different aromas from coffee. And I think the coffee that's in this one, it's just got a little bit of a floral kind of aromatic note to it, which is quite interesting because you can smell how well it's infused into the other kind of flavours, I would say, or the other aromas. But yeah, nice big brown sugary notes to this one. It's almost got a little bit of a cakey note to it, this beer. It's got an almost alcohol, red, fruity, cakey type note to the beer. So, yeah, no, it's really nice. Really nice aroma to this one. Definitely, in terms of the red fruit, it's got a little bit of that medicinal quality, like I was saying. I say figs, raisins, maybe plums or prunes. Maybe not plums actually, it's not quite sharp enough for plums. Maybe more of a pruny kind of note to this one. But yeah, some earthy hop in there as well, just a little bit. But overall, the aroma of this one is quite sweet. I like how everything is going together in this one. It's definitely a lot sweeter in terms of its aroma than I expected. But as I always say, take a little bit of time and enjoy the aroma before you get stuck into the beer. But let's have a taste of this one now. So this one is the Speedway Stout from Alesmith Brewing Company in San Diego over in California in America. Let's get stuck into this beer. Thank you for all your support over the last 5 years, over the 1,500 beer reviews that I've done. There'll definitely be another 1,500 to come. Let's get stuck in. Slàinte, skål. Yeah. I can see why this beer immediately, you know, why it's so popular. It's just a beast. It's an absolute beast of a beer. It's cracking stuff, it really is. And this one's interesting. It's, in terms of the stouts, I mean, you get the American stouts, you get the big sweet stouts, the milk stouts and things like that. You get the coffee stouts, you get and you know, you just get a kind of regular straight up Imperial stout. This one has a little bit of everything. They've got you know, you've got a bit of the sweetness in there from the chocolate malts, you've got a little bit of the coffee note as well. This one, it's kind of an all-rounder, this beer. But it works really well. It's got a little bit of everything and it works brilliantly, it really does. Yeah, that's beautiful. So let's take the malt base first off then. This beer, when it says coffee on it, it definitely is a little bit sweeter than you would think. But yeah, with this one, nice little bit of roasted black malt there. That blankets the middle of the tongue. It gets a little bit, you get a little bit of the bitterness from that as you move further into the aftertaste. On top of that though, you can feel the coffee smoothness there. The coffee smoothness also comes out a little bit more as you go further into the aftertaste. It's lovely just how all these flavours go together in this one. But yeah, lots of sweet chocolate in there. It's a big, almost syrupy kind of thing. The chocolate, it has a little bit of the flavour that you would expect from the darker high cocoa chocolates, but at the same time it's also got an element of the milkiness to it as well. The chocolate's just kind of sitting there on top of the coffee and the black malts that I was talking about. It's just kind of sitting in there on top of that, and then you've got the brown sugars right in the middle of your palate as well, and they're adding a good bit of sweetness to the beer also. Yeah, the brown sugars are right in the middle of your palate. They're not overly sweet. They're a lot sweeter, I think, in the aroma than they are in the actual flavour. I think it's the chocolate really that's kind of that's dominating it a little bit. But right in the middle of your palate, you can get a little bit of that sweeter caramel note. But as I say, it's not overly sweet, if that makes sense. To me, the flavour is more dominated by the chocolate rather than anything else. But it's as I say, it's a beautiful, beautiful beer, this. As you just head towards the front of your palate a little bit more, I think there's a little element of a nutty flavour to this beer coming out. Yeah, there's definitely an element of nuttiness to this beer, which is nice, and you can feel that just towards the front of your palate a little bit. On the hoppy side of things, back corners of the palate, there's a little bit of earthy bitterness, but it smooths out as you come further forward along the front sides of your tongue, and then maybe as you go around the front curve of your palate, it's just a little bit lighter and grassy. There's maybe a little touch of a very slight floral note on the front corners of the palate too, and then behind the front curve of the palate, there's a little bit of that oily bubble there where those juicy, fruity esters start to come out of the beer. I'm slurring my speech a little bit with this one. 12% is going to my head already. But in terms of the fruitiness in this beer, it's yeah, it's a good mix of things. It's definitely leaning towards the red fruit side of things. So with this one, I would say you've got a little bit of a kind of pruny quality that I was talking about as well. There's some kind of candied red fruit. As I always say, it reminds me of the little heart-shaped sweets that you get in Haribo Star Mix. I should be getting paid by Haribo at this point, but the little kind of candied red fruit esters, they always remind me of that sort of Haribo little heart-shaped sweet flavour. It always reminds me of that. There's a little bit of a sharpness to this one, a raisiny or a plummy sharpness in the flavour. As I said, in the aroma, it was a little bit juicier, I think. But yeah, the fruity notes to this one are a little bit more, they're definitely a little bit more sharp than they come across in the aroma, if that makes sense. You do have a little bit of that sharpness from the plums and the prunes and things like that. There's almost, when you go further into the aftertaste, you do get a little bit of an almost cakey flavour out of this one, but it's a roasted cake, but it's very, very nice actually. It's really nice how all the flavours in this one kind of combine together. Like I say with this beer, you get a little bit of the sweet stout, you get a little bit of the coffee stout, and then it blends together beautifully to give you kind of this almost middle road, and I think that's probably why this beer is quite a popular one, because it's got a little bit of the roasty toasty kind of thing that you would want from a stout, and it's also got a little bit of the sweeter things. So I think this beer just builds a very good kind of middle road, if that makes sense. And for me, that seems a good explanation as to why it's become so popular, if you like. So yeah, it's really nicely done. So well done to Alesmith for this one. This is the first beer, I think this is actually the first beer I've ever tried from them, to be honest, as well. I don't think I've ever actually drank any of the Alesmith beers, but this one certainly makes me very, very curious, and I'd love to try the wee heavy, the Scotch ale at some point. So I need to see if I can get a hold of some of that. I might be able to get that at some point in the fairly near future. I'll ask the guys at Shiosk about that. But yeah, beautiful, beautiful beer, this one. In terms of the mouthfeel then, definitely a full-bodied beer, this. No two doubts in my mind about that. Full-bodied beer, Carbonation's very smooth, big oily mouthfeel to this one, definitely a big oily beer. Nice little bit of, there's a little touch of booziness to this one, which is nice, but you know, overall it's nice and it's pretty well done. Malt base, really good balance between the roasty, the characters, but mainly it leans towards the sweet side of things. You've got a lovely smoothness in this beer from the coffee as well, which is really nice. And the coffee flavours that you get in this one, incidentally, it is a little touch aromatic, I think, but the coffee gives you that lovely smoothness, and as I was saying, that comes out a little bit more as you go into the aftertaste. The hops are very smooth, and you've got that little bit of juicy, fruity quality in there as well. But overall, a really nice beer, and I'm glad that I was able to review this one for you. So yeah, let's leave it at that for this. This was the Alesmith Speedway Stout, review number 1500. And I have to say, I've really enjoyed this one. I can see from the roasty toasty side of things and from the sweet side of things, this is a brilliant kind of middle of the road stout. So if you haven't tried this one before, I highly recommend that you do. Make sure you check out all my beer tube and friends. Craig over at Kent Beer Reviews, he's about to do his 1000th beer review, but let's leave it at that for this one. A shout out to all you guys that have followed me over the last few years. I hope you've enjoyed this 1500th review, but it's been a great journey. So as always, let me know your own thoughts on this beer in the comments section below. Let me know what your favourite beers are from Alesmith. Check out my social media, and until the next time, it's Slanger just now. Thank you for watching, and I will catch you guys later. This was the Speedway Stout from Alesmith in San Diego in California. Thanks again, and I'll catch you guys later. Skål, Slanger.